My wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but right there at the altar in front of family, friends, and everyone I cherished, my future mother-in-law turned it into a nightmare with just one speech. I'm Liam, 31 years old, the owner of a small auto repair shop in town. Not fancy, not high class, but it was the result of years of sweat and hard work, building it brick by brick with my own two hands. My wife Sophie works as a researcher at the local hospital. We weren't rich, but we had enough to live on, enough love. There was only one thing that never changed in our 3 years of dating. Her mother, Patricia, had never thought I was good enough. In her eyes, a man without a college degree who worked with his hands would forever be just a shadow at the foot of the family. The wedding reception that day was cozy. About 80 guests, fresh flowers, soft yellow lights. Everything was more perfect than any dream I'd ever had. Until the toasts. After the emotional speech from my best friend Noah, Patricia, Sophie's mother, snatched the microphone. I saw a flash of panic in Sophie's eyes. I felt her hand tighten on mine under the table. But it was too late. Patricia, plastered on a fake smile, her voice dripping with sarcasm. When Sophie first brought Liam home to meet us, I thought it was just a youthful fling. Who knew she'd be serious about a mechanic? A murmur went through the hall. Patricia raised an eyebrow, her smile cold. This whole town knows people like Liam just scrape by to make ends meet. No stable career, no future. Yet today my daughter is stooping to marry him. It's pathetic. I sat motionless. My face burned, but inside I was ice cold. Sophie shot up her chair, scraping loudly behind her. Mom, shut up. Liam built this business with his own two hands. He owns his shop, his own house, and most importantly, a kind heart that you've never had. The air in the hall seemed to be sucked dry. Sophie's father, Martin, sitting at the next table, started clapping slowly, sarcastically. Bravo, Patricia. You never change. Patricia gave a thin smile, shaking her head. My dear, you'll see. When he drags you down to the bottom of society, don't come crying to me. But it didn't stop there. My phone started vibrating non-stop. 13 missed calls, all from familiar numbers. Old customers, friends, small-time partners. Noah looked at me, whispering, "Check your phone." I glanced at it and immediately felt that something very, very wrong was happening. Sophie realized it too. She opened Facebook, her lips trembling with anger. Mom, why is there a post in the neighborhood group from your account accusing Liam of scamming customers? Patricia's mouth dropped open, stammering. I just wanted to protect you. I heard his shop was about to go bankrupt. I took a deep breath, stood up, my voice surprisingly calm. Protect, or are you trying to destroy? All eyes turned to Patricia. Her best friend, Monica, her real estate partner, stared down at her plate. Sophie was so angry her hands were shaking. Mom, you contacted Liam's customers. You made up stories about him being in debt. You posted slander to ruin his reputation. No one said anything. Only my phone vibrated again. A message from a loyal customer. We believe you, Liam. We'll testify if needed. I looked around the hall. The place that was supposed to be the happiest of my life, now a silent battleground. I picked up my wineglass, tapped it lightly against the microphone. Thank you all for coming today. Thanks to my dear mother-in-law. I've learned that family isn't just about blood. Family are the people who dare to stand up for each other. And Sophie, you are my family. The hall erupted in applause. Patricia's face turned purple. She shrieked, "Don't you dare film this! This is private." One of Sophie's cousins, smirking, held up his phone, recording. Private? What about all the public posts you spammed all over Facebook? Patricia screamed, threw her wineglass on the floor, then stormed out of the wedding in a rage, dragging a bewildered Monica behind her. That night, our wedding actually became a real party. No more judgmental eyes, no more venomous words. Just friends, just real family, just the liberating laughter after years of enduring. But I knew this was just the beginning, because the next morning when I woke up, my phone had exploded with over 20 calls, and a message from my old lawyer. Liam, we need to talk urgently about the allegations against your shop. I looked at Sophie, sleeping peacefully beside me, and whispered, All right, Patricia, if you want to play war, you'll see you picked the wrong opponent. That morning, before the sun had even peeked through the curtains, I was sitting at my desk staring intently at the barrage of messages. Heard your shop's under investigation. Is it true Liam's scamming car warranties? We need to put our contract on hold, hope you understand. Each message was like a punch to the gut. Not just my reputation, not just my credibility, but my entire career. The blood, sweat, and tears I had poured in for years, being buried alive by a spiteful woman in just one night, and I knew, silently enduring would only lead to defeat. I didn't reply immediately. I made coffee, sat down and started making a plan. First, I scoured all my emails, messages, and call history. Evidence of customers who had received anonymous calls, spreading slander, screenshots of fake Facebook posts, the underhanded rumors Patricia had sown. Everything was carefully stored, not a single loophole. Next, I called my lawyer, Mr. Grant, a man who had been with me since the day I opened the shop. His voice was steady on the phone. We can file a commercial defamation lawsuit, but before the battle begins, we need to gather more weapons. I nodded. This couldn't be rushed because I understood. To take down someone like Patricia, you had to let her dig her own grave. That day I drove to each of my major clients. I didn't do this over email or text. I chose to meet them in person. I laid two things before them: a file of documents proving the integrity of my shop and a hot cup of coffee. If you've ever trusted me, I said, my voice calm, please hear me out before you make a decision. No complaints, no sob stories, just the truth, clear, cold, and unembellished. And after they heard my story, I saw them nod, a small nod, but one that carried more weight than any hateful Facebook post. In the evening, when I returned home, Sophie was waiting. She already knew. Sophie threw a stack of screenshots on the table. Messages Patricia had sent to relatives. Poor Sophie, marrying that penniless mechanic. Voice recordings of her whispering to customers, "That repair shop is about to go bankrupt. Don't be foolish enough to take your car there." Sophie sank into a chair, her eyes red. "You don't have to endure this anymore. Let's end it. If needed, I'll testify against my own mother." I squeezed her hand. "I will, but not with words, with actions." In the following days, I quietly took each step. First, I filed a formal request for an investigation into unfair competition practices. Then I gathered evidence of Patricia abusing her power in real estate transactions to undermine competitors. Finally, I contacted the customers Patricia had coerced and the partners Monica had subtly threatened. Each conversation, each document collected was another brick building, the tomb of Patricia's career. There were times when Sophie looked at me, a hint of worry in her eyes. "Are you sure you're not being too ruthless?" I just smiled. "I don't need to be ruthless, Sophie. She's destroying herself. I just need to shine a light for everyone to see." As each day passed, I felt it clearly. The web of lies Patricia had spun for years was beginning to unravel, and I knew. The day she fell was very close. On the 10th day after the wedding, I received the call I had been waiting for, Mr. Liam Grant's voice. My lawyer's was deep. "Everything is ready. Do you want to give the signal?" I gripped my phone tightly, my heart beating steadily. It's time. That day, the region's largest real estate conference was held in the town centre. Patricia, in a blood-red dress, stood out in the crowd, a confident smile on her face, as if all the trouble she had caused was just a passing breeze. I was there too. No fanfare, no noise, just a humble mechanic carrying a thick file and a truth that was ripe. As the conference began, Grant stepped onto the stage. He didn't hold a microphone. He didn't need loudspeakers. Just the truth. He opened the file, quoting, "Certain entities within the real estate community have received false information about another business intentionally for the purpose of unfair competition. The evidence collected, including public posts, anonymous messages, and threatening calls, all point to one name." The entire room fell silent. Patricia stood up abruptly, her face turning from flushed to pale. "This is slander," she shrieked, but no one looked up. Grant calmly held up an envelope. "Everything has been submitted to the Business Administration Department and the Prosecutor's Office, including evidence of financial fraud spanning several years." A murmur swept through the hall. Some people who had been close to Patricia backed away. Others quietly took out their phones, recording, taking pictures. Patricia staggered off the stage, her eyes vacant. Right at the exit, Monica, the colleague who had once sided with her, blocked her path, her voice ice cold. "I just reviewed the company's books. Patricia, there are some missing funds. Is that a coincidence?" Patricia opened her mouth to argue, but before she could utter a word, I stepped forward. I stood facing the woman who had humiliated me at my own wedding. I didn't need to raise my voice. No need for force. I just smiled as gently as the wind. "You called me a penniless mechanic, didn't you? It's funny, because only one person here just lost everything in one morning." Patricia took a step back, her lips moving silently. An event organizer approached, handing her a letter. The decision to temporarily suspend her membership. She snatched it, tore it open, and as the black words hit her eyes, Patricia almost collapsed on the spot. The news spread like wildfire. In just one afternoon, Patricia's 4 largest clients simultaneously cancelled their contracts. Monica and Patricia's real estate company announced its dissolution. The first articles appeared online. Powerful businesswoman embroiled in market manipulation and competitor defamation scandal. And of course, the neighborhood Facebook group where Patricia had spread rumors about me was now filled with posts asking, "Is the story about Liam and Patricia true?" I almost believed those lies. Glad I woke up in time. That evening I sat on the porch, a cold beer in my hand. Sophie came out and leaned her head on my shoulder. She whispered, "You won." I just smiled. "No, Sophie, I didn't win. The truth won." Stars twinkled in the sky like tiny smiles congratulating us, and I knew. Though the road ahead might still have challenges from now on, we would walk with our self-respect intact, without having to bow our heads, without having to beg anyone, and without fear. A week after everything collapsed for Patricia, the small town seemed to have a different atmosphere. No more spiteful whispers, no more scrutinizing glances. Every time I drove my old pickup truck through the neighborhood, but only quiet nods of approval, friendly smiles that I rarely saw before. People knew the truth, and Patricia had nowhere to hide. Her real estate company officially declared bankruptcy. The large, ostentatious house where she used to host lavish parties had a for sale sign in the yard. Not to upgrade her life, as she had once boasted, but because Patricia was drowning in debt after the civil lawsuits filed by her former victims. Monica, her former partner, after cutting ties, transferred her entire client list to the new company that my friends and I helped open, a silent but sharp slap in the face. Patricia had once proudly claimed that this whole town was in the palm of her hand. Now only an empty palm remained. Haven, Sophie's younger sister, moved in with us. She was still fragile, but slowly regaining her confidence. Every day I saw her smile more, talking about the dreams she hadn't dared to pursue while living under her mother's shadow. Some nights, Sophie sat quietly with old photo albums, removing each picture that included Patricia. I didn't stop her, because I understood. Sometimes to move forward, you have to clear out toxic memories. Patricia, meanwhile, still tried to fight back. She posted on social media, crying and lamenting that her children had betrayed her, that outsiders had destroyed her family. But no one believed her anymore. The evidence, the words, the actions she had left behind were too clear for anyone to be fooled again. Even her closest friends quietly drifted away. Some whispered that Patricia was preparing to sell the last of her jewelry to pay off her debts. One by one, each brick of the arrogant castle she had built herself was crumbling beneath her own hands. One late evening, I received a message from an unknown number. Just a few words, "You destroyed my life, I won't forget." I stared at the screen for a long time, but I didn't feel anger, nor did I feel triumphant, just an emptiness. Finally, I just smiled and deleted the message, because I knew I hadn't destroyed anyone. I had only allowed the truth to come to light. The ones who destroy themselves always do it themselves. The next day, under the soft golden light of early autumn, Sophie hugged me from behind, whispering, "I'm proud of you. You didn't just save your business. You saved this family." I squeezed her hand, my gaze looking ahead towards the clear blue sky without a single cloud. No more fear, no more malicious whispers. Just freedom, the freedom we had reclaimed with our own strength and patience. 6 months after the day Patricia fell, our lives had changed more than I had ever dared to hope. My repair shop not only survived, but it grew so quickly that I had to hire 3 new mechanics and expand to another location. Reputation, once tarnished by lies, was now strengthened by one simple thing: the truth. The townspeople who had once hesitated now sought me out. They didn't just bring their cars for repairs. They brought their trust, and a silent reminder that honor once protected by action endures. Haven was in her final year of university, preparing to receive a study abroad scholarship she had never dared to dream of. Before Sophie continued her research, steadily advancing at the hospital, she laughed more, and a sense of lightness gradually returned to her heart. And every evening, as we sat on the porch watching the fiery sunset in the distance, I knew those storms had once swept through our lives. We had emerged stronger, kinder. As for Patricia, we didn't hear much about her anymore. Occasionally someone would whisper that she was living alone, quietly, leaving gatherings, avoiding the gazes of acquaintances. Because now she was no longer the powerful figure she once was, no longer able to utter those cold, judgmental words. Only an indelible past remained, and memories no one wanted to mention. One afternoon, Haven was drawing in the yard, Sophie was watering the flowers, and I was cleaning my old pickup truck. No words were spoken, only quiet laughter, mingled with the warm, golden sunlight. I realized happiness is actually very simple. It doesn't come from fame. It doesn't come from money. Happiness is when you can hold your head high, look straight into the light without being ashamed of what you've done. I whispered to myself, "Thank you, past storms, because thanks to you, I know how to cherish this dawn." Some battles are not fought on battlefields, but silently within each person. It's not always necessary to retaliate with anger. Sometimes just being patient, steadfast, and maintaining kindness is enough to win. If today's story touched you, please click like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next journeys. And if you think someone out there needs a reminder that kindness ultimately prevails, please share this video, because sometimes just one story can light up a whole life. Thank you for being here. See you in the next stories.